Well, I believe that other countries, European countries, should not try to promote their own path of development that has failed. We are in this situation because the path of development that they did has brought us to this climate change chaos. So they are a bad example. And it's difficult to, I think they have to change the logic to see that, oh, we are the ones that have to help these other poor countries. I think they have to recognize that their path of development has to change, that they have to listen more to the South, and they have to try not to impose to the South their ways of living. And that's very important. And from our side, we have to really try to do, for example, our own proposals like Vivir Bien, proposals that become a reality and that are not only theory or something that is practiced in local indigenous communities. So if we want to tackle sustainability, there has to be a change in both sides.
Okay, so I think it's important for countries of the Northern Hemisphere, of Europe and of Finland to be aware that it's not like countries in South America or in the global South are so different from you, actually. No, we're all talking about the same thing. We're all humans here going through globalization in a way where it's very easy to adapt and to understand what people in Finland live in as it is in Peru, right? So we have this technological tools nowadays that allow us to close down those barriers that before really it was impossible to even think about, right? But now we've got the internet, we've got so many media tools, and we've got so many opportunities to work together that I think that's the way that we should be thinking about. It's not about you and us and them. No, it's about all of us, and how can we create things together, regardless of the country that you come from, regardless of the specific geographies that we're all at, right? And I think in that sense, European countries and should just take advantage of the benefits and like the opportunities that are there that can possibly help out countries in South America. For instance, the opportunity that you have to keep collaborating as a continent, the European Union, for instance, for me personally, I think that is a great thing because it can move countries in a way that could possibly allow for more development aid to come to these countries in a sustainable way. So just like bringing ideas together, it's also about keep doing what you're doing right because it sets an example to other countries as well. I'm just talking about Finland and their education system, for instance, and how alternative ways of learning and leaving this traditional idea of formal education, how can that be beneficial, for instance, for a kid who grew up in another language and now has to go to school and sit down and look at the whiteboard and learn math in such a traditional way that it's not really useful, right? So how can we learn from these different experiences to build something new together? I think that that's what we should be doing, and European countries should take advantage of those opportunities of being so close together and creating these niches of collaboration and sort of just producing these ideas with the help of all of us. I think that that's something that can be done. Yeah,
we can do an improvement how it's been done till right now, which is like little steps. I think that organizations, as I said before, like non-profit or even related to international organizations have made a really bigger impact than that like government, like states cooperation in an international platform. I think that if we will have like some improvement here, it has to be by creating more of these organizations that there are many. Some of them are for women's rights or even sustainability education, and they have really done an impact, and they have really educated people. Like I said before, I've started my interest in human rights and international law in my early teens, like in a non-profit organization that worked with human rights, and it has, well, the country years ago implemented a series of new like laws that regulated these organizations, and many of them closed, and that has been also like really a big
issue here.
Yeah, for these organizations to function. I think that's the best way to help a country like this, because right now, to help a country as unstable as Bolivia, like between cooperation, interstatal cooperation, is not really gonna function in the way that it should be. I think that, like you said, baby steps should be what we need it's what we need right now.
Not only non-profit organization, but I think that the society as a community as well can do something. I think that people should pay more attention to people like Greta Thunberg, because she's showing that if you want to make a change in your country, if you want to create conscience about something, you can do it. That little girl started alone in front of the building of the Congress every Friday with a pancart, with a paper, saying that they should be done something for climate change. I do not doubt, even though in social media or in press has not been saying too much, that they, and not only the Congress, but many people should have very criticized her a lot, like saying, what this little girl doing, wasting her time with this dumb paper about climate change instead of going to school and study and prepare herself. But she showed to everyone that this type of things like climate change is more important than something so orthodox like educational systems or following up what we always do. It's hard for a society, it's hard for a government to break the mold, for saying like that, and make changes. But right now we could not be comfy. We cannot feel ourselves inside a bubble and say, I'm comfy, I'm not gonna do anything, everything is working normal, so I don't need to make a change. No, that is not the fact. Internationally talking, the organizations are moving on. Various states are applying politics about sustainable development, sustainable energies. And the main problem right now is with the growing up countries, because we do not have the same ways that developing countries to go on and fight against climate change. And I think that people should get more conscious about all these things, should not just stay and say, oh, my government will do something, non-profit organizations will do something, and I'm just gonna lay around and wait for the results and hope that everything's fine. No. Non-profit organizations are fighting for us as a society to take conscious about how important is climate change and how important it is to make something about it. It's not only about not losing wildlife. Polar bears are in extreme danger of disappearing. A very beautiful species that is one of the most important ones in what I've been investigating so far to keep healthy the ecological system of Antarctica. And that is not the only main problem. Around the world, wildlife disappears. Many plants and flora variety disappears. The planet itself is gonna be unable to be habitated and unable to satisfy our needs. And not only that, if the planet itself disappears or is not able to survive, we're not gonna have the means to work. We're not have the means to have a home. We're gonna be victims of natural disasters all the time. We're not gonna have water. We're not gonna have clothing. We're not gonna have many things. Like species, we're gonna disappear, and that is a thing that people is not taking conscious because they're not living directly, but we're gonna live it soon. internationally talking, there are treaties that make the governments, make the states take action, but they're not going to do it seriously if we do not make our part and make them take more conscious. I think that not only non-profit organizations, not only activism or activist people like Greta Thunberg are a very good example of how most of the times governments are on their own, cannot do everything. It's about us too. And not only in climate change, but I think in human rights.
One, I think, is simply raising awareness that the biodiversity exists here. There's a lot of focus or media attention given to the Amazon rainforest because it is the largest rainforest, because it's so amazingly biodiverse. But the reality is, if you take the time to look at and explore the other habitats across South America, you find a similar appreciation for the nature that exists outside of the Amazon rainforest that is already receiving a lot of attention. And so I think simply by spreading the word that Paraguay exists, that the Gran Chaco is home to jaguars and tapirs and puma and all these amazing species that are at risk of having their habitat destroyed, will help as the organizations here try and look for support. People will have heard of them and will value what it is they're trying to protect. And a second way that European NGOs can help is by helping us find funds to run our projects. A lot of times the governments or the funds that are given internally to Paraguay are limited, and so the organizations have to compete amongst themselves to run their projects. And in Europe, or not just in Europe, but sort of, again, in the global north, there's a more well understood importance to protecting the environment, and the ramifications of destroying habitats that maybe are tens of thousands of kilometers away will still have an impact at home, offers an opportunity in which these giant areas of forest can be protected and can benefit people living in other countries. But here at home, here in Paraguay, that awareness of the importance is less widespread. And so by helping us, organizations working here, find and communicate with larger funds that might exist or interested parties that exist in other countries, can be a huge way for us to create long-lasting partnerships that will allow us to sustain our projects long into the future. And that's one thing that is a big struggle all the time, is you can get funding for 1 or 2 years, but that's not enough time to achieve a change at the level of society or the level of community that you want to see. And so I think those are sort of the two ways in which foreign NGOs can help, is by establishing a knowledge about Paraguay and about the issues and about the importance of this place, and then also helping us find the links and the contacts to communicate what we are doing with people who care.